Okay, today's lesson is transformations of polynomial functions. Okay, and the very first thing we're going to put in there, like I said, after we're done with the notes, you can cut it out and everything, is this chart. We have a chart almost exactly like this earlier in the notes. Okay, this is really similar to something else we've done. The only difference is on today's, we're going to do higher exponents. Okay, that's what we've been doing recently is polynomial functions. So the only difference on this chart from what we have earlier in our notes in, I want to say second 6 weeks, is that it's going to be x to the third power. Okay, the rest of the stuff is stuff that we've already seen. Okay, so we're going to go through this chart. We're not going to even write anything on it. This just gives you examples of what to look for. Okay, if you remember, transformations can be, these are all the list of them. Okay, they can move left and right, horizontal. They can move up and down, that's vertical. Okay, they can flip or reflect over the x-axis or the y-axis. Okay, or they can stretch or shrink the graph. So what we did last, we did it with quadratics, with the parabola. And before that, we did it with absolute value, the V-shaped graph. Okay, so the only difference today is that we're going to do it with cubics and quartics and graphs to the 5th degree. But it's really, really similar. It's not very different from what we've done before. Okay, so you should be probably find this pretty easy. Okay, and we're going to have a quiz over this stuff next class. Okay, so if you don't find it easy or if there's something that you're stuck on, please ask. Okay, because you're not the only one wondering. When you see, what we're going to mostly do is look at equations and tell what are the transformations. Okay, so one important thing is to look for is there parentheses or not. Okay, if there is parentheses and it's got a plus or minus inside, that's a left or right shift. Okay, if it's a minus, it's to the right. Okay, if it's a plus, it's to the left. If there's a plus or minus with no parentheses, remember plus is up and minus is down. Okay, now reflections are if there's a negative in front of the x. Okay, again, you need to pay attention to parentheses or not. If it's inside the parentheses, that's flipping over the y-axis. Okay, what that means is it's going to go from left to right. Okay, it's going to flip this way. Whereas if there's no parentheses, it's going to be just a negative sign, no parentheses. That's going to flip from top to bottom, okay, over the x-axis because x is across. And the last two are if there is a number in front of the x. Okay, this is a number in front of the x. It's different than if there's a negative in front of the x. I'm going to talk about vertical first because it's a little bit more commonplace. If it's a whole number and no parentheses, okay, that's a vertical stretch. We just abbreviated that with a V, okay, by a factor of that number. Okay, whole number is a vertical stretch. Fraction below 1 is a vertical shrink by that factor. Okay, again, no parentheses. That's what we're looking for. If there is parentheses with a number in front of the x, okay, that's horizontal. Okay, a horizontal shrink or stretch. It's going in or out. And horizontal is a little bit funky. Okay, it has one weird thing. Like, for example, if it's parentheses with the 2 in front of the x, this is actually a shrink, and you have to flip the fraction. Okay, 2 over 1 flips to 1/2. Right, same thing here. Okay, if it's a 1/2, inside the parentheses, that's a horizontal stretch, and it flips the fraction to be 2 over 1. Okay, only horizontal do you have to flip the fraction because that's a special one. Like I said, it's a little bit funky. So just pay attention to parentheses or no parentheses. Any problem that we do, you'll look at these equations and match it up with what you have on your paper. And then it basically tells you right there in words what's going on. Okay. Many of them you can also put in the calculator, but hopefully we learned these without using the calculator because it's a lot faster to just quickly see what it's doing and say it without having to type every single thing in. Okay, again, we're going to put this in later on during the notes. So same with this bottom part, okay? On number 1 through 4, right, they give us the graph that we're starting with. Okay, that's this graph. This is what you're starting with. Right, the thing that I would point out is that the top of the W is right here at the origin. Okay, that's the easiest thing for me to keep up with. And then they give us 4 equations. Okay, and they want you to match it up with the graph. Now, you can't put these into y equals, okay, because it's got the f in it. It's f of x, okay? It's telling you what's happening to the graph, okay? It's saying y is f of x minus 2, okay? But you can still see what's going on by just looking, okay? This is one where they want you to just know from the equation, not from putting it into the calculator, okay? But we see here we've got parentheses, right? It's inside the parentheses a minus 2, okay? So let's look here. All right, looking at our thing. What do they have inside the parentheses x minus something? Right, on, what kind of translation did you say, Kayla?